Hey, I'm Jeff and welcome back to another video. Although alocasias are extremely beautiful plants, they can be a little bit finicky at times. I grow a lot of houseplants and even I have sometimes a difficult time with these specific plants. I like to compare these, or I like to call them the toddlers of the plant world, just because whenever they don't get exactly what they want, they throw themselves on the ground, they throw a hissy fit. And most times this is in regards to watering. Although they like a lot of water, they don't want too much water and they don't want to stay in soggy soil for too long. I like to let mine get a little bit dry, but they don't like to get too dry, otherwise they start dropping leaves. There's a very small window of letting them get too dry or staying wet for too long. This plant requires a fairly consistent routine with watering. And because I have so many houseplants, I can't keep to that very strict, consistent routine, so mine usually end up getting drier than they should and end up looking like this with the one leaf. So I'm in the one leaf club, and anytime I get a new leaf, the previous or the last leaf ends up dying off and looking like that. So, or it looks like this with no leaves. So that is not ideal. And that's why people get so frustrated with these plants, because who wants a plant that looks like this? Like, it just looks absolutely horrible. Every new leaf that I get generally just dies back and falls off. Look at the stem on this, it's getting pretty stretched out, and I don't have any real size up with the leaves. And then I got this guy here. This is one of my favorite alocasias. It's the Georgiana aurea. It's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful plant. It has some very nice variegation. The reason why I have these two is because these are my pest magnet plants. Alocasias are known to have spider mites or be spider mite magnets, and that is absolutely the truth. I am constantly looking over the leaves, and I just quickly picked these up and I haven't even looked them over yet, but I guarantee there is a thrip on them as well. So you'll always have leaf damage like this. You'll have some spotting on the leaves, some crispy leaves like that, and even some new leaves will come out deformed. So if you see yellowing areas like that, right in this area, some discoloration, some spotting, you probably have either a spider mite issue or a thrip issue. This area right here, you can see those little jagged lines, that is thrip damage. They like to leave like a little trail, and in my experience they like to go to or damage the newest leaf. So this one right here is the newest leaf. I don't see any on it right now. Always check the top and the bottom, but that is generally what they go for, or where I find them on is the underside of the newest leaf. I don't know, they like the freshest stuff, I guess. Let's see if there's any more damage here. So that right there, that's thrip damage. Those little kind of silvery lines, that is what a thrip damaged leaf will look like. And they do lay their eggs in the leaf tissue as well. So that right there might be some thrip eggs in there. You can see just some little kind of yellow dots. So yeah, and that's definitely thrip damage there as well. I'm actually shocked that I didn't find a thrip on this. Usually I will find at least one amongst the plants that are outside of my IKEA greenhouse cabinet, but shocking, absolutely shocking. So the next thing is, if it looks dead, it's probably not dead. So I don't even know which alocasia this is, which variety it is, but it's been a stump pretty much since I've brought it home. So whenever you bring a plant home, the conditions from wherever you bought it from, the greenhouse, the plant store, they're going to be different than your environment. These plants, or the alocasias, they're very finicky when it comes to changing their environment conditions. So obviously the light, humidity, temperature, all that kind of stuff can throw it into dormancy. So you bring your plant home, the leaves, they droop, they fall off, they look like this, and you think your plant is dead when in fact it's not. So most people will throw these out thinking that the plant is a goner. As long as the stem, as long as this piece, it's really not a good example just because you can still see it's green, but it hasn't had any leaves for like months. But as long as this portion of the plant is still firm, even though it can have dried up or have no roots or anything like that, it's just gone into a dormant state. So it's basically reserving or storing all its energy for when the conditions are right again. Then it will sprout a new leaf. Just put them in consistent light, consistently water them, and they also like to be very warm. So as long as they have those requirements, it will kind of regrow again. This is my IKEA greenhouse cabinet, and I keep a few different varieties of alocasia in here, as well as anthuriums and some of my more higher humidity requiring plants. So you will definitely need a spot with higher humidity. So if your area or your environment is pretty dry, then I suggest you get a cabinet like this where you can close the doors. And I do have a little humidifier down here. You can see it's just pumping out some steam. So it's like an intermittent stream. So it comes on for a few seconds and it turns off like that. So as well as an important fan just for circulation. So these have been doing fairly well in the cabinet, and I just realized that my fry deck here has a little bit of damage as well, so I'll have to look for or treat these for some pests, because I think there might be spider mites in here as well. But generally, these have been doing much better in the cabinet compared to the ones outside the cabinet. This is just the regular green variety, and it's looking really good so far. I have also been trying some plants in pond. I have an outer cup, and then I have an inner one that has some slits cut at the bottom. So basically the outside cup acts as a reservoir, and yeah, they've generally been doing well so far. They were all kind of like little corms or just smaller plants. So just trialing this right now, and so far they seem to be doing fairly well. There's another couple varieties in the back here as well. So yeah, it's that's a video for down the road, but I'm just going to see how they do in the cabinet in the pond. But if you don't have consistently high humidity, then like I said, this is something that I would suggest investing in if you're serious about alocasias. One alocasia that consistently does well outside of the cabinet, and it's got these large leaves, and it always looks beautiful. This is the Alocasia Regal Shield. It's a fairly common variety, and it has a thicker leaf. So this one, because it has a thicker leaf, I think does better just in general house conditions. So I think right now my humidity downstairs here is about 50%. This one always does extremely well. It's got a nice thick stem there. So you can find these at like Home Depot and Lowe's, that kind of thing, for fairly cheap. But if you are able to get an Alocasia Regal Shield, I highly recommend it, because this is one that is super easygoing, and it always looks good. And I don't know if it's due to the thicker leaves, but this one I don't really have any pest issues with. So all my other alocasias are on the floor there or in my cabinet, and they constantly get spider mites. So it's in the same area as the rest of them, but this one, it never gives me any issues. And this leaf, it's the newest one, still hardening off. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is my Alocasia Jacqueline. It's an absolutely beautiful variety of alocasia. You can see it has 3 large stems, but it only has 1 leaf. So this one definitely went dormant because it got a little bit too dry. This one is very delicate in my experience when it comes to watering. It needs consistent watering. It doesn't like to stay too wet, but it definitely doesn't like to get too dry. So I just want to quickly talk about propagation. So there's a few different methods. You can separate multiple stems in one pot. You can do propagation by corms as well as stem cutting. So I'm going to take this out of the pot, and this one here is the Alocasia Golden Bone. This one is beautiful. I love the leaf color and texture. It's a thicker leaf. It does well for me as well. This one, I think I'm going to start with this one here first. I added a little extension on the top here. I added some moss. So basically, when I take the top cutting, or when I want to propagate the top, there should be some roots on this portion of the stem. So all I have to do is take this little extender off. So I just inverted a pot, and I cut out the bottom just so it could accommodate the stem. And then I cut a little slit in the side of the pot so I could wrap it around the stem. So I just have some tape on there. I'm just going to take the pot off like that. So that is what it looks like. Whoops, my plant fell over. So you can just wrap it around and then add moss or soil, and you can see, look at these beautiful roots on the stem. So now all I have to do is remove some of the moss here so I can get access to the stem, and then all I have to do is take pruning shears, or I have a little utility knife here as well, and you can just take the top cutting, put it back in a pot, and you'll have an entirely new portion. So all these roots. Okay, it's been it's been rooting this way for a long time, like probably a few months, and I can already see some of these roots that are growing from the stem grow right down to the bottom of the pot. So this one right here, you can see it grows right down to the bottom of the pot. So generally you don't want to let it go for that long, but I did. So now all I'm going to do is take my utility knife and just slice up through the stem, trying not to cut any of the leaves or any of the roots. So there, it is free. Now what I probably should have done is removed it from the pot and remove the roots, like that. Okay, so now you have an entirely new plant from an existing plant. So now I can pot this up in its own individual pot. And the thing about alocasias is they like small pots. They don't want something too large. And that kind of leads back to they don't want to stay wet for too long. A pot like this, something just a little bit larger than the root system itself, will be sufficient. And I'm going to place this a little bit lower in the pot like that. So I'm going to set this aside for right now. Now I have tried the stem propagation method in the past, and what should happen is the stump, this right here, should pop out some new growth points from the growing eye. So although you've made the cut on this, it will not grow from the top, it'll grow from a growing eye somewhere along the stem. Can't remember which plant I did it with. It was, I think, the Cuprea. It really didn't produce any new growing eyes or new growth from the growing eye. The stump pretty well just didn't do anything. So I'm going to set this aside and see if I can get another plant from a growing eye or a new growth point. So I'll provide some updates down the road with this one. Now with this alocasia, I can already see a bunch of like little corms on the stem. There's little bumps in there. You can take those off and harvest them and place them like in a prop box, and it'll grow an entirely new plant. So all I'm going to do is just squeeze the pot, and I can already feel some little bumps on the side. So I'm going to assume that it probably has some corms in here as well. So yeah, I definitely let this get too dry. You can see these little roots, these little fibrous roots, they dry up extremely fast. And then when you go to water it, it basically causes root rot. So those roots have already dried up, they're dead. When you water it, then it just provides some kind of excess moisture. Like, look at these roots, they're all just falling off. So this is 100% my fault. I'm letting it get too dry for too long. And that's how you can get root rot from underwatering. Basically, the roots dry up, they shrivel up, you water it, and then it just it rots out the rest. So all of these roots are like dead, with the exception of these larger ones, but it's super dry. So definitely my fault. It has nothing to do with the plant. And you can probably see it a little bit better here as well. So all of these little nuggets, these are corms. So you just pop them off and you can place them in a propagation box. I'm just going to set them aside right here. So you can see they're along the stem, and you can just pluck those off. And these will grow into their own new plant. Holy cow, there's a whole bunch of them right there. A little cluster. So you can take those off and grow new plants. Now for separation, I don't know if these are like multiple plants in one pot, or if it's one plant that produced these offshoots. So what I like to do, you can use a knife if you want, or pruning shears, but it's really not that difficult. I usually just pull them apart, you'll feel a little bit of a snap if it is attached to another plant. So like right there, I felt a little snap. I don't know if it was roots. I'm gonna find, yeah, so this point right here, this is where it was attached to the mother plant. So you can see the fresh cut end right there. And there's a ton of little corms on this guy. So I'm just gonna pluck all those off. So this can go in its own new pot as an individual plant. And same with these ones over here. So again, I'm just going to pull them apart, and there was a snap. So it was attached to the mother plant right there. And holy smokes, there's a corm. It just fell on the floor. And you can see this cluster right here. So I'm gonna get like, I'm guessing probably a dozen plants. This part right here looks like a little root. So this is what turns into this. So basically sprouts out a little side shoot, and it'll produce a new stem like that. These corms, I've left them in the pot, and I've never really noticed a plant growing from them while it's in the soil. Apparently it does. I've just never experienced it. So you can leave the corms in there. They should grow new plants, but I've never seen a new plant grow from just the corm like at the top of the soil, if that makes sense. Again, here's a good example of that little side shoot. So it just sprouts off, kind of goes along the soil, and then it'll just pop up on its own. Here's a few more little clusters. So here's all the Jacqueline corms, and I like to use perlite prop boxes like this. This is simply just a takeout container, so anytime I get like Chinese food or just takeout, I save these containers, and they do regrow. So here's an example right here. So here's a little tiny corm. It grows roots, and then eventually you'll get some new leaves kind of sprouting out the top. So these are all individual plants. I've just got a whole collection of them in there. Same with these here. So here's a larger corm. Yeah, just gonna pull these out. So they're a little bit tough, but there's the corm. There's nothing specific about this. I just stick them right on top of the perlite. It doesn't matter how you place them. Most times you'll need that little pointy part pointing upwards, but as you can see, they find their way. So it's just straight perlite. I don't add any fertilizer or anything like that. I pre-soak the perlite, so all the perlite is damp, but I don't let there be any standing water in the bottom. And then all I do is place the lid on top. There's no air holes on top. And then you just place them under a grow light or any light source, and you'll get some beautiful new alocasias from just these little tiny corms. I just grabbed a few random plastic pots. I'm going to start with this one right here, and I'm just using the VeryPlants Molly's Aeroid mix. This is pretty much what I use for all of my houseplants, including alocasias. If you're interested in this product, there is a discount code in the description of this video as well. And I know they ship to the US and Canada where I am. So all I'm doing is dumping in the soil like that. I'm going to take it over to the bathroom here as well to give them a good soaking, and then I'm going to place them in good light. Okay, just packing this one down just so it doesn't fall over. You can tap the pot. You can use a pencil to poke around the roots, just making sure that it is stable and remains upright. So something like that. And then same with these other ones. I'm going to take this one and place it in this pot. So these roots are dry. I'm afraid that as soon as I pot them up and give them some water, I'm going to lose this leaf because the soil is, or the roots are really dry. So I'm probably going to lose this leaf because it's in shock from being taken out of its pot. And now I'm just giving it some new soil as well. But that's okay. It will regrow. It might look ugly for a while. Okay, so that is packed. Just gonna put a little bit more. I'm running out of soil here. I don't know if I have any more. Okay, so that one's done. It's gonna get some water. And then these two, I don't know what I'm going to do with these ones. I might try them in different conditions. But I definitely don't need 3 of these downstairs here. So they might be up for sale. They might be experiment plants. I'm not too sure. I'm not going to pot one of these up. I'm actually going to save this for a plant friend. I think we're going to be doing a trade. So I'm going to leave this one out of the pot. I'm going to pot this one up and, like I said, maybe use it as an experiment plant. And then this one, I'm going to take all the roots off. So I'm just going to snip all these off. And it'll probably be in the mail next week. So something like that. A couple more corms on here. I'll leave some on here for him, but I'm going to send this one in the mail. A nice big one. So whenever he does get some leaves, they should be big leaves instead of like little tiny guys. Okay, so something like that. I'm going to take these 2 over to give them some water, as well as this guy. But this one I'm going to leave dry, and it will be fine. All the energy will be stored in the corm or the stem here. It can stay like this for a couple months. You can overwinter these, so you can have your alocasias outside in the summer, cut off all the leaves, cut off the roots, store them in a kind of a dark, cool space, and then you can plant these bulbs or stems again in the springtime, and it will regrow. So that is going in an envelope or a little box. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it helpful. Maybe understanding alocasias a little bit better, as well as how to propagate them. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave it down below in the comment section. Otherwise, thanks for supporting my channel, watching all my videos. I do appreciate it. Thanks everyone. Take care. Bye.